Everybody, and welcome to another Tell It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Pure Guidance. We are a purpose before profit group that guides small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs through growth strategy and becoming angel investable. I would like to thank Sexy AF Spirits with Joanne and her team. They are an outstanding company based here in Calgary for their sponsorship. They are a 100% premium alcohol-free, plant-based, low-cal, sugar-free, botanically infused spirit, perfectly for mixing. They have a fantastic website, tons of ingredients and things that you can make right on their website. It'll be in the comment section, so please check them out. Again, I'm really excited about today's conversation with Quinn Goretzky, the COO of Rogue 7. Quinn, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, Jade. Thank you for having me on.
I was going to move those over there so I don't spill it all over my bonus room here. So I always love talking about networking, the importance of networking, and you and I had a really great conversation beforehand talking about how that might evolve in the future. But you and I met through Startup TNT. We've had a few conversations, and here we are. And again, the networking is something that we both love to do.
Oh, most definitely. And especially in the startup world, networking is one of the most critical things that you can do. I always say to my guys, we got to be humble. And through networking, you never know, you can find people that can expose you to new ideas and give you advice or even open up new opportunities for you. So networking is the way to go forward. Anytime you have the chance to build out your network, go for it. Thank you.
Oh. No, I agree. I could not agree more. And even yesterday, I had a meeting with a gentleman downtown at a Tim Hortons, and the guy had a Humboldt Broncos, a Humboldt strong shirt on. And I was wearing my "It's Okay Not to Be Okay," which one of the survivors started from that crash. And I saw him there, and of course, I'll talk. I love talking. I'll talk to lots of people, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, are you from Humboldt? Are you that shirt?" And they're like, "Yeah, we were looking at your shirt," and we kind of had about a 30-second conversation, and we didn't change any information. But Dan goes, "Yeah, I got to start doing a little bit more of that. I got to start talking to people and getting out more and telling our story." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you never know who you're going to be talking to," and away you go.
Oh, always got to keep your ears open and your eyes open for those connections. Yeah,
exactly. Well, I'm going to give a brief little introduction about yourself and Quinn, and then we'll get into the questions. So, Quinn's had a varied career with government Alberta, leading both regulatory operational improvements for the Alberta's electricity metering and billing, leading to the development of data-driven international marketing strategies and performance management of Alberta's international offices. During his tenure at the Alberta Research Council, Quinn led a national team involving 5 provincial research agencies in developing a unique agile growth system for catching and converting carbon. He led technical reviews of nuclear power, energy storage, geological storage, while raising nearly $20 million for clean tech projects. Through client engagement, Quinn conceptualized Rogue for the liquid pipeline industry. And when you say you conceptualized it, and when Rogue 7 started, as you would call it, as a bunch of control room software people founded a new machine learning business. I mean, that sounds difficult. It sounds like really out there. Like, it can't be that easy. Tell me how Rogue started.
Well, it is easy and it isn't easy. A bunch of us were working in the SCADA community, supervisory control and data acquisition applications and business. And what we saw was SCADA was rapidly becoming a commodity business. And a number of us were kind of dissatisfied with the direction it was going in, as well as the business relationship that was there. Yeah. But on top of that, what we noticed was that the control room, there was more and more data coming towards that control room, and more needs and demands were being put on the SCADA system. And ultimately, a lot of these control systems couldn't handle that. So we started asking ourselves, well, what else could we do? And that started making us look towards other ideas. And most importantly, looking at new technologies, such as machine learning. After a bunch of discussions and poking and probing, we realized that we could build a SCADA adjacent product to a control room SCADA system. We could pull the data out of that SCADA system and start building a digital assistant to assist pipeline operators. And a lot of what we're talking about with the digital assistant is based on what you hear often enough about the centaur approach, where you have a human and an AI working together to play chess. It's the same thing here. Or the concept of an autopilot with a plane. It's a human and a machine working together. Concept that's been around for 40 to 50 years. And this idea, when I say conceptualizing, we poked and probed and talked with industry representatives. We've been very lucky in the sense that where we're based in Edmonton, Alberta, I like to call it the Silicon Valley of control rooms. There are 6 major pipeline control rooms within a 10-minute drive of our office. We've been developing our product and platform in consultation with all of these groups. And everybody is being very, very attracted to the idea of the digital assistant, partly because from a regulatory standpoint, we're not taking control of the control system. What we're doing is augmenting the controllers, helping them to do their job better. We're trying to get everybody who, let's say, especially now as you're seeing a transition in the workforce where people that are 2 generations after my father are starting to retire and move on. There's these new generations that are coming up, and maybe they might be a little bit timid in terms of operating a pipeline. Well, having that digital assistant or that co-pilot there, they can show the operator how to optimize that pipeline. So someone who's only been on the job, say 6 months or is relatively new, can operate at the same level as someone who has been operating that pipeline for 20 years. So very powerful technologies, and machine learning can show those pathways and such. But I just go back to, we look at it, we see more and more data flowing into the energy sector, especially around the pipeline industry. Machine learning is a natural fit in terms of taking that data in. We put it into something that is visually very attractive for someone to work with, and just powerful things come out of that. And I could talk for hours about our product. Our digital assistant is for the oil industry is called Oil Intuition. Oil Intuition, its benefits are quite significant. I always like to say Rogue 7, we build virtual pipelines. And what I mean by that is if you install Rogue Intuition in one liquid pipeline, we can increase throughput on average by 5% in a given month. Now imagine if you install that in 20 pipelines. And most companies have over 20 pipelines. Well, that means you've built a virtual pipeline, one virtual pipeline, without any environmental impact, without any construction cost, without any stakeholder issues, and you're making more money. A lot of companies find this idea very, very attractive. And we're finding a lot of attraction to this concept of how we can optimize what already exists. When you look at the pipeline environment, optimization, considering all the restrictions on building new pipelines, resistance, that sort of thing, optimization is the best pathway forward for the pipeline industry to grow their business. And that's where we're at right now.
So I guess when you talk about optimization, about growing the business, is it, obviously us in Alberta here, we've been kind of punched in the face about certain pipelines. We don't have to mention all of them, but do you think that, moving forward, the Rogue 7s and what's coming in with AI and ML will actually help certain governments approve, pipeline production because they'll be, better tracked, all those types of things?
I would say that having a Rogue 7 digital assistant installed in your pipeline will be helpful from a regulatory standpoint. We have engaged with several regulators, especially with their safety and reliability groups. And what we're getting is they won't endorse our product, but they're not coming out and saying that they have any issues with the product. And that in itself is quite important. You'll never get a regulator to endorse. As to governments looking at approving new projects and moving forward, I think they're going to have to start to recognize that the new economy as we move forward here is going to be based on digital. The oil and gas industry has invested vast amounts of sums into sensors, into integrated networks. You have this whole physical infrastructure, but on top of it, you have this massive digital infrastructure. And the competitive edge of future corporations is going to be digital. It's just much more cost effective, much easier to operate with. And you're already hearing like government saying that, hey, we need to build for that future economy, which will be based on data. Well, Canada, in particular Alberta, is perfectly based. We have a very resource intensive industries here, but they're also very data driven industries. but we're only in the early days of mining that data and improving it. So we're seeing a lot of government programs coming out to improve digitization of the oil and gas industry. You're seeing this with CRIN, you're seeing this with Alberta Innovates, you're seeing this with IRAP, but we're just in the early days of starting to see some amazing stuff happening on that front. And in the end, I think a lot of governments will be looking maybe just as favorably on projects that have demonstrated they have physical safety as much as digital improvements in place to ensure better productivity, better safety. Digital is the way forward. We're going to have greater visibility of what's going on. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, no, that's a great answer, and I like it. Again, I'm talking with Quinn Goretzky, the COO of Rogue 7. You can just click on their website in the comments section to learn more about their company. So I mean, everybody, maybe outside of Alberta or Western Canada, or maybe just in general, just kind of thinks that it's a low-tech industry. Oh, you're just pulling it out, you're pumping it in through the things. And you were talking about sensors and what you guys do. How are these companies going to use this AI ML to improve that data, to make sure that people understand it is safe?
Let's take 3 steps back. You're saying, you said low tech. Well, I fight you on that right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, people outside the industry.
And I'm just saying that people, I don't know what they know, but I'm just going to say this, is that the oil and gas industry is very data intensive. You've got data systems all over the place. There's collecting data, but the reality is a lot of that data is maybe not being processed as well as it could be. It could be taken and used, say, in ML to do better things. And that's the data of today, or the data of yesterday. What's about to come in the next 2 to 3 years with the advent of the industrial Internet of Things, more cloud capability being deployed out into the field, you're going to see 10 times as much data being deployed towards control rooms and decision makers. Because of that, they're going to have tools such as an algorithm like we have that can take finite pieces of data, analyze the trends, look for anomalies, look for ways to say there's a benefit here or not, or there's a problem here. And the thing that I'm particularly excited about is right now we're talking about optimizing pipelines. We're talking about environmental improvements that come from those optimizations. But as you start to deploy more of these sensors out there, you're now going to be collecting a lot more environmental data. So switching from oil, let's take a look at natural gas. Well, we've talked to a number of companies on that front, and they go, can you do a prediction 36 hours ahead? And we're like, yeah, we can do that. But also because we're SCADA adjacent, we can pull data from the SCADA system or from the historian, which is the database that stores the data, but we can take data in from other external sources. So as companies make this investment in IoT sensors, and when I say investment, the cost curve of data sensors or IoT sensors is just dropping faster and faster. The cost of communicating data back to the head office is dropping faster and faster. But what you need is something there to take all that data and turn it into actionable intelligence, turn it into something you can do. So going back to natural gas, they all go, we want to know what consumption will be in 36 hours. Well, we could take all your historical data. We can take the data from your system. We can take population data. We can take weather data. We can take a variety of different data sources, tie it all together, give you trend analysis, and give you a prediction of what's going to happen 36 hours ahead. And by doing that, that means you can operate your equipment and your technology much more efficiently. But even better than that, you're delivering to your customer and making sure that they get the products that they want and when they need it. And if you think about in the last couple of weeks where we just saw in Western Canada, the people in the utility industry just do an amazing job of keeping the power on, keeping the water moving in these extreme weather events. Well, having these sensors and having this knowledge, being able to go into an AI, we can be even more precise in terms of maintaining equipment and keeping people alive with giving them water, giving them power, giving them AC. These are the things of the future that I'm quite excited about.
No, I totally agree with you. Right, even outside of the oil and gas industry, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think it's very important. So, are you seeing in my opinion, I always, when I talk to people like yourself and companies like yourself, and whether it's oil and gas or tech or any industry, like, why aren't people adopting it like right now? Why are you seeing any resistance? Like, why can't people overcome it? Like, how are you working with companies to show them the value, the safety, the benefits of this?
I always like to say technology is easy, people are a little bit more challenging. The reality is this: you have a lot of companies, they're built up to function in a certain way. When you're introducing new technologies and new products, that means you have to engage with people. You have to socialize them to a new product, a new opportunity. That means you also have to spend some time, as I said, with the 6 companies that we have in the immediate area. You got to reach out and engage with folks, find your champions. You got to, and find people that are willing to not just say no, but criticize you about, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And that helps you to improve your value proposition as you go forward here. What we've been lucky with is we've found a lot of people that are willing to give us time, to give us feedback as we improve that product. And then through that, they're seeing that, oh, Rogue 7 is receptive, Rogue 7 is willing to improve. And thus I feel more comfortable with engaging other people within my organization about, oh, this is a company you should look at, this is a company you should talk to. In terms of what we're seeing is actually a shift has occurred actually in the last 3 months, where granted there was a global pandemic that kind of stalled things, but it was a great time for us to engage and socialize and develop our product, where you had probably for the first 14 months of our company, Quinn banging on doors and asking people questions. In the last 2.5 months, we've got pipeline companies calling us and asking us, hey, can we look at that product again? Hey, can we start looking on putting together bids and stuff so that we can get you into our system and start moving forward? So in my view is whenever you introduce a new technology, there's like that 3-year cycle. And the first year or bit, it's all about socialization. People get to hear about you. They get to hear about the company. They get to hear about the team. They get to hear about the offering. Then you mature your value proposition. Then you start moving into actual applications, you start developing business cases, and you move yourself forward. And you build that trusting relationship with the client. So you got to be patient. It takes a little bit of work, but in my mind, I don't see resistance as more, you got to remember these companies, especially pipeline firms, their business model is based on safety and reliability. So if you come in there and say, hey, we're going to change your universe just like that, they're going to be very skeptical of that. Instead, what they're looking for is how do you help them to continue to operate their business in a safe and reliable manner and deliver the products that they need to deliver to their end customers. And we have taken great strides to do that. And I said, we've been very fortunate that in the Edmonton area and as well as Alberta, there is a large number of people that work in the pipeline industry. They operate pipelines. And they're very kind in terms of providing their time, providing their feedback, helping us to improve our product. Where if I was working in another industry, I don't know if I'd be this happy at this point in time, because we've matured this thing so quickly, and the technology just gets better and better, and it's opening up other doorways for us already, which I'd be happy to talk about as well.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. there was, and I love. I mean, that's a great answer, and I agree 100% with you. But there was something that you mentioned in your first answer about the data, and say someone like your father who did certain things and put it in, and data's helping someone who's maybe been on the job for X amount of months can do it. And I just didn't. It was stewing in my brain. I didn't know how to answer it, and sometimes I'm a little slow. So I figured it out now. Is there such a thing as too much data when it comes to something along like what you're doing, what you're putting in front of somebody when they're trying to learn it? And it's always been done this way, but now the old generation has learned to do it and adapted to it. But when someone comes in, is there too much data to overwhelm somebody?
I will say part of the reason why we started thinking about this product was we were definitely hearing in the industry that there was waves of data heading towards a control room, And control operators, frankly, were getting a little overwhelmed by the data that was being thrown at them. So what we have taken great pains to do is actually think about the product. How do we present this data in trend lines? How do we create a user interface that is much easier for an operator to work with, rather than looking at a SCADA screen and trying to differentiate this piece of data from that? The other thing that I think people need to understand is there's a staggering amount of data out there, but a lot of this data is actually in very minute forms. When you have an algorithm doesn't go to sleep. It's on 24/7, and it just doesn't look at this data. It looks at this line of data, that line of data. And then what we do is take all that data and package it into visuals that help an operator to look at things better. And so as we add more and more data to these situations, this will assist a control room operator to navigate and operate their pipeline and their asset much better. But if you're saying, hey, my dad's generation, and they had to work in a control room 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, when you purchased SCADA, that was your main system for controlling a pipeline. It was like your operating system. And so it was such a capital intensive investment that companies always said, okay, now we're going to drive every piece of data that we can into that SCADA system, whether it's useful or not. Well, you go into control rooms and these guys and gals are generally focusing on certain key pieces of data just because that's what they can do and that's what they can handle in their minds, where an algorithm can sit there and take a look at the whole umbrella of data and maybe pick up on some stuff that a human mind might not pick up on. You have very talented people working in that control room, but I can tell you myself, when I play video games with my son, there's certain things I pick up that little guy can pick up that I can't see. And that's the same thing with the control room. It's just, it's the way you structure it and present it that is the more powerful way. So when I say we're a machine learning as a service company, really we're a machine learning plus company. Our team comes out of building industrial control systems. We understand the work environment. We understand the client. We have built a product that is really about enhancing their work environment and about helping them to operate better. Machine learning is a part of the technology stack that underpins that product. But we've also built in other things there that will help them to operate better. Probably my favorite thing is when it comes to training and improving staff, especially when we're seeing this generational change, we've invested a lot of time into building leaderboards and building feedback loops into our product to show how one person operates versus another, how to incentivize people on a daily basis to do stuff. And you go, well, Quinn, why do you do that? Well, my son, he likes to play video games. There are leaderboards in that. He is used to winning icons or badges and such. This is, the next generation of people coming up or have already been trained to look at the world that way. What we're doing is building a product that will be attractive to them. And what this will do, as I said, will take your least experienced or your least productive employee and bring them up to the level of your best in a relatively short amount of time. And we're only, as I said, we're in the early days of this. So more data, better ways of visualizing that data, better ways of creating that user experience so that you're using that data much more effectively. And we're talking about the control room now, but we can imagine how this starts to affect the work of schedulers, people that are buying products and selling products on the pipeline system. There may be even other areas in terms of safety and reliability, leak detection. We're just in the early days of mining all this data and turning it into better and better products for these companies.
Nice. No, I love that answer. And now we can get into what you want and what, and you're dealing in the O&G right now, but once you kind of master that, what's next for Rogue 7?
Well, I'm very happy to say that we have a strategic relationship with the Hydraulic Analysis Group. They're based out of the UK. And through them, we are advancing into water distribution systems. So presently, we are pursuing both a customer in North America as well as a customer in the Middle East. This opens up a new avenue for our technology. It also demonstrates that, like what we always say to everyone is, our product is not constrained by the physical asset or physics or engineering. our product is based on data. And if your product is just based on data, we can work in oil and gas, we can work in water, we can work in an electrical grid, we can work in a natural gas grid, we can work on moving any product that you have over a physical infrastructure. Heck, we can even work in subway stations as we move forward. But we're only a year and a half out and we're already making that transition. I am so excited about the future of this company and what we can do. We're not even scratching the surface yet.
Well, that's awesome. And of course, if anybody wants to learn more about it, just click on rogue7.com in the comment section, and you'll be able to go directly to their website. So I know, Quinn, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. It's always educational, and the one thing that, I don't have enough, probably, people like yourself in the industry that drives our economy, especially in this province, and that's on me. I got to bring on more, talk about it, share all the good news, because everything's always negative about it. So that's on me.
I see an exciting future for Canada's energy sector. I see the marriage between digital and the energy sector only growing. I see a whole bunch of environmental and sustainability objectives being not only delivered on, but performance will only improve as we combine more digital into oil and gas. Stay tuned, people. We're only in the early days of this. It's only get better and better as we go forward.
I love it. I love it. And as you said, I mean, you're a year and a half in, right, with Rogue 7. So you're relatively new. You're going through the startup phase, raising money, doing all those types of things. So if you had one piece of advice for a small business startup or entrepreneur, Quinn, what would that be?
Well, I got two. The first one is build your team, and your team should really have three important elements: a really good technical core with some depth. You should have some good financial skills, and third, sales and marketing. You need those three elements to really build a good team and to build a company that can go forward and grow from there. And then my second piece of advice is be humble. Always reach out, connect with people, seek advice, especially in the startup land. Raising capital, talking to people, it's a very different way of looking at a problem, a very different way of communicating an opportunity. You're selling a dream as much as you're selling a piece of reality. And the question is, how do you connect what your dream with someone else who wants to invest in that dream? And what are the things that are going to connect it? And that's why talking with Jade and talking with other people who work in this environment and help to make those connections is so important.
Well, absolutely, right? Again, we talked about networking, right? Getting out there, putting yourself out there, going into, we met through Startup TNT, right? Saw you pitch. You guys went through that process. I'm sure it opened up some doors. You met a lot of new people. As I say, even then, sometimes the people you meet going through Startup TNT are actually more important than the money that you may get. And, even the last summit, 7 companies ended up getting over $1 million. We gave away more than $1 million, which is priceless to companies that need it, companies that deserve it. And it's something that is making a big difference in our economy right now. So I totally agree with absolutely everything that you said right there.
Well, I appreciate that. Rogue 7, I see we have a great future ahead of us. But we're still a growing company. We're still humble. We're still hungry. We're looking for investors. We're looking for partners. We're looking for customers. I hope this interview might spark a few more interests. Please contact me as soon as you can. More than happy to talk to you about the Rogue 7 story.
No, absolutely. And again, anybody listening, now live or, after the fact here on any social media channel, just click on the website in the comment section. It'll take you right there. Quinn will be there for you. And again, Quinn, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your knowledge, and sharing the Rogue 7 story. I really love hearing about all these great Alberta companies like yourself, out there pounding the pavement, changing the way things are done and revolutionizing industries all over the world. So thank you again for everything that you've done.
Well, thank you for having us on today.
Awesome. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Wednesday, and we will chat next week.
Stay tuned, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.